Mr. Herbert Mensah, let's go back to your own Kotoko. Now, the product Kotoko is not as most people will like it. Should it be called by Otunfo or say to the second to come lead the club? Will you accept that, Anna?
You know, this was a simple thing on GOC. You are taking me around the world, my brother. I think you are trying to get me into hot soup. Let me tell you my position on Kotoko. I love that club, and I'll always love that club. And I really think that sometimes we just have to respect the transition. I know it's difficult, because if you love Kumasi Asante Kotoko, if you love Accra Hearts, then you are reactionary when things don't go right. When they played Hearts of Oak, I sent a recording to Mickey Charles, to Upokwinti, to Kwekwa Hinkra, to the players, to Ablodi. When they played in Accra, I think they had lost virtually all their matches. To give them encouragement. I'm not happy if they lose. I'm not happy if the general public don't have the support they had for them before. But every time I'm called, and every day I get people sending messages upon messages to me about Kotoko, and I tell everybody the same thing. Just have patience. The club is bigger than any individual. It's bigger than any individual. Otunfo is more wise and intelligent than anybody knows. Believe me here. And don't forget that he has a background based on finance. So he's not sitting there saying, oh, just let it be. I know that he has lots of intel. He has lots of private meetings. I am lucky to be one of the only former chairman of Kumasi Asante Kotoko who still meets with Nana regularly. I love the man. I respect the man. I meet with the man. And he is probably the only human being in Ghana who today tells me, Herbert, you are out of order, stop, I stop. That's how much respect I have for him. So I'm sure that look at where the team started. People wanted them to get rid of all the leadership after the first 4 matches. He didn't do that. Nana did not react. And I'm glad he did not react. And the team is still there. I'm not sure the position of the local leagues. I think they're 4th or 3rd or something. I try not to interfere, but I always tell out, and I try and tell former leaders of Kotoko, don't interfere and don't do anything negative. Don't do anything negative, because if you do something negative to Kumasi Asante Kotoko, what happens if one day you are called back? Is it the spoiled goods you are going to try and resurrect? Don't do that. I believe my time has been served. I believe time has moved on. I believe there are younger, smarter guys out there. I took Kotoko when I was in my 30s. And I really believe there are smarter younger people with a modern vision for the development of the game, adapting it to the Ghana style. Adapting it to the Ghana style, where you can get larger investment back into the game. You can build structures that make you more relevant than the TP Mazimbes of the world today that live into the future. Because a football administrator's job, the chairman of a football club, the president of sporting organizations is not to behave like a fan. Your vision, your hopes, your plan should take the development of Kotoko into the future. Not today, into the future. So everybody should just take a deep breath. I know that Otunfo knows what is going on. He may be encouraging these people. There's no need for him to panic at this stage. And if he has changes in mind, he will surely make them at the right time.
Mr. Herbert Mensah, you've still not answered the question. Should Otunfo call you and say, I remember what you did for Kotoko in some few 3 years. I want you to take it back and then take it to a greater or a higher height. Will you do it?
There's nothing Otunfo tells me I cannot do. But I know that he is wiser than I am. And I'm sure he has got better people in mind. You know, if Otunfo tells me to jump, I have to ask him how high. I can't say I will not jump. I have too much respect for him. And I think quite often people's negatives on Nana are based on the fact that they've not had the chance to sit down and to speak with him or to interact with him in private, which is what I do very, very regularly indeed. I was honored just 3 weeks ago to be with him in the UK on 3 or 4 occasions at his home and to spend time with him yet again, discussing everything from business to politics to things that are of great relevance. And every time that I meet with Nana, I'm lucky enough that I don't have to meet with in public. I know that he is massively pressured on all fronts. As football lovers, we look at football, but you can be with him when the World Bank president calls him. You can be with him when the Chinese premier calls him. He is more than a president. If you actually sit in his midst, you'll be quite amazed at what happened. And I think that football, unfortunately, sometimes there could be people being more responsible so he doesn't have to get so much involved in times of crisis. But he is one for planning. And I think the challenge now really is what is the way forward. And these are things that Nana and only Nana will know as the way forward. But let us give him a little respect.
But most people of the view, or some people of the view, that times, events, and seasons have changed. Probably if you are giving the Kotoko back, can you replicate what you did with Kotoko in the late 90s and early 2000s? Or probably do more with Kotoko than you did some years ago?
You need a completely different direction. And you would need a completely different certain type of people to take you into that area. The dream would have to be different. The global world has changed. Kotoko is very much part of the global world. Your fights with the ministry and the FA would have to be intensified, because you cannot expect a man who has nothing on the street to simply increase his gate fees, increase the gate fees for you to increase the revenues. The level of sponsorship, etc., is to do with also the imagery of the league and those who run it, which is why my fights with E.T. Mensah were legendary in those days, and my fights with my brothers. I say my brothers now because I have a very special relationship with all the GFA presidents who I was in conflict with in those days. They are mature people, great people. Mr. Butler, Alaji Jaola, the Adi Kokas, which we had famous battles, but we've come to respect ourselves so much because the battles were about football, not personality. You know, it got personal at times, but it was about football. And the battle then, it was difficult for people to understand. Sometimes we are ahead of our time, and that is that football is big business. We need to change the way and structure in which football is run and understood in order to attract it. Trying to explain to people in football then and now, trying to explain to people in sports management now, trying to explain to people in the GOC now, that raising money is not about the position you hold, but the face and imagery in which you convey to the world. That's the first thing. I mean, how were we able to do it in Kosovo? Then you take the globalization of who you are. Then it is that you take the image of which you stand for and those who stand by your side. And the global world and capital has a choice. Does it now stand with you and say, these are people that we trust? These people's vision is not based on a theoretical document, but they are people that we actually trust enough to decide that we will not sponsor Miss Ghana, Miss Malaika, but we'll put the money into soccer or into the football club, that we do kid sponsorships for X, but we will bring it here, that we'll structure CSR programs that will lead to the development of sports and training for the youth in this way or that way. It's a far more complex thing, and capital, like us, we know what a pretty lady is, and we all have our taste. The same with money. Good money does not chase bad money. And when it does not know, it looks at the face of the person asking for the money. If he doesn't like it, you get nothing. So, for me to get back, we'll just simply turn the system upside down. And I'm not sure that the system or Ghana is ready for that yet. So, let me be where I am.
Okay.